Let's turn to a fourth theme, and we're going to talk about supply chain development in orthopedics. A very interesting topic with a lot of dynamic things happening over, I think, the past decade. We've discussed a number of challenges that the orthopedic OEMs have faced, but that means challenges for their supplier base too. If you've got challenges for Zimmer, DePuy, Biomet, Smith & Nephew, Stryker, and so forth, that means challenges for the supply base that serve those companies. With the tightening of regulatory scrutiny, more overseas manufacturing, and the unusual fluctuations in demand that we've seen recently, we just talked about, it seems that their job is getting much tougher. So Brian, let me start with you. What are the key overall trends for suppliers to the OEMs? What kind of things are keeping them up at nights?
Well, all the obvious ones: price, low-cost competition. But again, you have to, the supply base is reacting to the strategies of the OEMs. How they deal with their inventory management, how they deal with their marketing launches are the major drivers of demand for certainly companies like Symmetry and the larger companies. And it's quite interesting because, I've worked in the automotive supply chain and the aerospace supply chain and obviously the medical devices. And there's been this wave of what I'd call the 5% down guys that seem to be moving around. They started off in automotive, then they went into aerospace, and now they're starting to appear in the orthopedic area. And looking at, say, the aerospace experience, they're finding that the supply chain under this pressure has been largely damaged. And now if you talk to the large aerospace suppliers, they're very concerned about the supply chain being weakened because of, if you like, the lack of respect from the large OEMs that put this great buying power to say 5% for 3 or 4 years. I mean, any company that can give you that is not well managed in the first place, for a start off. So I would see that the biggest competitive factor for most suppliers is the in-house buy or make for the OEMs, because they have a lot of manufacturing capacity. And until they change, if they change, to a more outsourcing model, I think the supply chain have just got to react to those comings and goings. And it's a very volatile industry, particularly if you link to instrumentation and product launches.
So you touched on something, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on it. It's no secret that the OEMs have a lot of inventory scattered all over the earth. Do you think that has an effect in as they seek to get, as they've said that they are seeking to get more efficient in managing that inventory and reducing those overall inventory levels? Does that have a direct effect on the supply base?
Yeah, it could be dramatic. I think one of the large OEMs did an exercise a few years back and went around all of the hospitals and pulled in all the instruments that they deemed not usable, and they ended up with, I think, billions of dollars in a warehouse. And they said to 2 or 3 suppliers, including Symmetry, we don't want any more product for about 6 months, which to them is a minor adjustment. To a small supply chain, that's 6 months no demand. That's traumatic. That could cause a business to fail. So, these decisions are far more important to the supply chain in orthopedics than, say, procedure growth.
Yeah.
So obviously that affects the behavior.
So given that turbulence for the supply base, what are the opportunities? What should they be focused in on in terms of seeking opportunities to grow in this environment?
Well, they need to stay close to the OEMs. They need to move into more generic services other than just cutting metal, if you like, offering sort of integration packages, total solutions, if you will. And they need to potentially, if they have the ability, offer more than just the made-to-print service. Give them some innovative ideas, give them some developments. Because a lot of the engineering resources in the OEMs, from what I see, is being deployed on regulatory affairs rather than what I call pure product development. So the supply chain has an opportunity to bolster that for the OEMs.
Okay. Bill Kolter, Biomet is among many companies that have established manufacturing facilities in China. Does that or other factors change the sort of the traditional make versus buy decision that you go through at Biomet?
Well, we really continue to make those decisions in the same fashion we always have. Certainly we try to leverage our in-house capacity, but we consider really 3 different factors when we attempt to evaluate whether we're going to insource or outsource. And the first is, can we make it? Is it new technology that we have the expertise in-house to make? And if we do, then we'll make it in-house. But if we don't, then of necessity we have to outsource it. So that really is the key kind of binary decision. Secondarily to that, we also consider whether or not it's wise from a business standpoint to in-source a product that might defocus our capacity, right? In other words, if we have other competing priorities and in-sourcing would in some fashion interrupt another critical priority, then we would outsource as well. And then the third consideration is cost. So the other thing we keep in mind is we understand that there's a risk to having an imbalance to either insourcing and outsourcing. And so we try to make sure that we have a balance there as well.
Okay. So before cost really comes into play, you're looking at capacity, you're looking at capability, you're looking at focus as you make those decisions, and then cost comes into play.
Correct.
Okay. Bill Plovanic, does the investment community pay much attention to this segment of orthopedics? Are they so focused on the OEMs that they've ignored this space?
The focus for investors is definitely on the OEMs. I mean, from our standpoint, if you look at the supply chain, it's a challenging business. I think Brian said it best. You can have 5% pricing decreases dictated to you 4 years in a row. Investors, what we like to see is linear growth, and just a lot of visibility in the numbers. And I think suppliers in general, whether they be in orthopedics or any other industry, just that visibility is not there because you're at the mercy of an OEM. So typically they're not highly valued. They have lower multiples, and typically you stay away from them.
Okay.
I mean, I've been 16 years as sell-side analyst, and I had Brian present at a couple of my conferences.
I think Symmetry educated the whole of Wall Street about the volatility of insurance, so that was one of our claims to fame. But we started off when we went public, we were the dream ticket because they perceived us to be a tracking stock for the main OEMs. And then when they saw, the fairly major drop in instrument sales because of marketing activity, it's nothing to do with the performance of Symmetry. We haven't lost any customers, lost any business. If some marketing guy in OEM decides to move a launch a year, you lose X $1 million worth of sales. The Bills of this world can't handle that. They say, what's going on?
So running a strategic supply as a publicly traded company is not for the faint of heart, is it?
I don't know, is anybody from the SEC here? It's difficult, let's say that.
Is there a future for small suppliers, or is it all over for them?
Yeah, of course. There's people in any industry, in any walk of life, anybody that comes up with a good idea, is well managed and innovative, has got a future. The growing pains are the things that they have to be careful of. If we were doing it all again, I think a lot of small companies with very good niche products and very focused markets without having to go for volume is probably the best model to service the orthopedic industry, because as Bill said, they have tremendous capacity, and what they do as their major machining capacity for the major joints gets sort of run down because procedures, they swing that in with instrumentation and other things, so you get a double whammy when the thing slows up. You not only get the outsourcing decisions, you get the fact they're using their internal capacity, which gives 2 hits to the supply chain. So smaller companies, I'd probably be more encouraged with a good quality innovative, particularly if it's got a very strong regulatory approach to life, and it starts off straight out the box with a need to meet the high standards of the OEM for quality and regulatory.